Okay, we are continuing in Mustalah, Hadith terminology. We have reached the type of Hadith called Fard. Fard. Fard means unique. But before we read that, I want to review a kind of Hadith we already read weeks ago, maybe months ago, which is the Ghareeb, because Ghareeb and Fard are close in meaning. Ghareeb means a stranger, a loner. So a gharib is a stranger or a loner. A fard is a unique one. We're at fard, but I want to read gharib so we can just take those right next to each other, inshallah, and benefit from any difference there might be between them. Let's see what's here. Yeah, it's a review for me too. I'm doing it really for me and for you. Maybe for me more, inshallah ta'ala. So we're going to start here, where the author says, may Allah have mercy upon him. وقل أيها الطالب لهذا الفن غريب. Say, oh, seeker of this field, oh, you student of this craft, say, غريب. غريب hadith is ما روى راو فقط, is what? Only one narrator narrated. Only. ما روى راو واحد فقط. أي حسب منفردا. Meaning only. That's it. عن يعني uniquely عن كل أحد. Unique from anyone else. Notice here the letters fa, ra, dal. We want to talk about the hadith type called fard. But we're going to repeat here the ghareeb so we can see the relationship between these two kinds. Why are they two different categories? What's going on here? I'm reviewing with you here. So the ghareeb is a hadith narrated by only one narrator, only fahasib. And that's it. ومن أمثلته حديث النهي عن بيع الولاء وهبته. Amongst its examples is the hadith about selling allegiance, selling allegiance, or giving allegiance as a gift. Allegiance. Yeah, I cannot explain that right now, but sometimes some people have a pact between them or some agreement between them or a type of relationship between them. And then, so you cannot sell that to someone else. I won't go further here in trying to explain those words. But there's a hadith about selling allegiance or giving allegiance as a gift to someone. You have allegiance to someone and you give that allegiance to someone else as a gift, or you sell it to someone as a gift. It's not valid to do so. So there's a hadith prohibiting such a sale or such a gift. فإنه لم يصح إلا عن عبد الله بن دينار. This hadith is not authentic, but from the route of Abdullah ibn Dinar. وينقسم الغريب إلى غريب متنا وإسنادا كما لو انفرد بمتنه راو واحد، وإلى غريب إسنادا لا متنا كحديث معروف روى متنه جماعة من الصحابة انفرد واحد بروايته عن صحابي آخر، وفيه يقول الترمذي غريب من هذا الوجه كما ينقسم إلى غريب. Okay. So he says غريب Ghareeb it has categories. There's a footnote here. This footnote helps us. Hafiz ibn Hajar said in the explanation of An-Nukhbah, we took An-Nukhbah, Ghareeb and Fard are synonymous, lughatan wastilahan, linguistically and technically. Yani in the language they have the same meaning, and in the field they have the same meaning. إلا أن أهل الاصطلاح غايروا بينهما من حيث كثرة الاستعمال وقلته. But the difference between them is how the people of hadith terminology use them frequently or rarely. Which one do they use frequently and which one do they use rarely? Or how do they use one of them frequently and how do they use one of them rarely? فالفرد أكثر ما يطلقونه على الفرد المطلق. When it comes to the word fard, that's with a dal, as is clear for you if you can read the Arabic. Not bod, not fard with a bod. That's a completely different word. Fard, as for fard, they mostly use it for what is absolutely unique. Al-fard al-mutlaq. What does that mean? We'll see. والغريب, and the غريب أكثر ما يطلقونه or أكثر ما يطلقونه على الفرد النسبي. And غريب, they mostly use that for something that's relatively unique. So they use the word fard for what is absolutely unique most of the time, and they use the word gharib for what is relatively unique. What do these words mean? We're going to see when we read in fard, inshallah. وهذا من حيث إطلاق الاسمية عليهما، وأما من حيث استعمالهم الفعل المشتق فلا يفرقون. And this difference of which we speak, how they use fard for the absolutely unique and gharib for the relatively unique, which we need to clarify what those terms mean. That's when they're using nouns, the noun fard. Fardun, that's a noun. And the noun gharib, gharibun. When they use the nouns, then they use the noun fard for what is absolutely unique, and they use the noun gharib for what is relatively unique. And as for when they use the verb, فلا يفرقون فيقولون في المطلق والنسبي تفرد به فلان أو أغرب به فلان. When they use the verb, then it means exactly the same thing for them. The verb forms تفرد, that's past tense verb. أغرب, that's past tense verb. They don't make a difference between them in the verbal usage or in using the verb forms. That's what I just pointed out to you here. I said to you, no, sorry, that's not the verb form. That's noun. Here in farada, there's a verb. So, but we didn't get there yet. But I did read it, but we didn't get there yet. وينقسم الغريب. So the gharib is divided. إلى غريب متنا وإسنادا. So gharib, we can translate it as unique. We could translate it as unique, but I want to translate fard as unique. So, what's a synonym for unique? So the Ghareeb is divided into Ghareeb in the text and the chain. Like, if one single narrator uniquely narrated the text, كما لو انفرد بمتنه راو واحد, like for a single narrator to uniquely narrate this text. So it's unique in its text and unique in its chain. A single narrator, so that's a signal to the chain, is narrating this text. So it's unique in its text and its chain. Ghareeb in its text and its chain. وَإِلَى غَرِيبٍ إِسْنَادًا لَا مَتْنًا. And there's another category of Ghareeb, Ghareeb which is unique in its chain, but not in its text. Like a hadith that is known. Its text is a hadith, a known hadith, كحديث معروف, like a known hadith, روى متنه جماعة من الصحابة. A group of companions narrated this known hadith. انفرد واحد بروايته عن صحابي آخر. While one of them, though, is uniquely narrates this hadith from another companion. One of them uniquely narrates this hadith from another companion. A hadith that's known, a known hadith narrated by a group of companions, and one narrates, uniquely narrates it from a companion, from another companion. One companion uniquely narrates it from another companion. So, a known hadith narrated by a group of companions, yani a hadith known to the companions, narrated by a group of them. But one of those companions uniquely narrates it from another companion. So take that scenario there. This one is unique in its chain, not in its text. Not in its text because it's a known hadith to the companions. But one of the companions is uniquely narrating it from another companion, making the uniqueness in its chain in particular, not in its text. And this is the one that At-Tirmidhi calls غريب من هذا الوجه. غريب من هذا الوجه. It's unique in this way. غريب in this way. He says, the explainer that is Sheikh al-Jabarti, كما ينقسم إلى غريب صحيح كالأفراد في الصحيحين. Like also, Ghareeb is divided into authentic. Like al-afrad, afrad is plural of fard. Like the fard narrations in the two books of, in the two authentic books of Bukhari and Muslim. Soul. Okay. And وَإِلَى غَرِيبٍ حَسَن. And also a gharib hadith can be hasan. وفي جامع الترمذي منه كثير. In the in At-Tirmidhi's compilation, there are many. His Jami', his compilation, there are many of such hadiths, gharibs that are hasan. وإلى غريب ضعيف, and also there's a ضعيف gharib hadith. وهو الغالب في على الغرائب, and this is the overwhelming case of the gharib hadiths, that they are weak. such that some of the imams, as if they warn against this kind or advise against it, if you want, they said, stay away from these Ghareeb narrations. Be interested in what is widespread and known. That's better. What's widespread and known is better than what is unique, what is rare. Yeah, so some of these scholars they advise against this type of hadith, the Ghareeb hadith. They say stay away from the Ghareeb hadiths. Don't prefer them, rather prefer what is known, what is widespread or popular. And that they said most of these Ghareeb hadiths are weak, objectionable. They contain objectionable information, and they are reported by the weaklings, the weak reporters. So take that advice. Someone comes with something strange, then you don't have to be in a rush to be happy to take that. Okay, so now let's go down to Fard and see what's there. So the author says, the explainer, Sheikh Al-Jabarti, rahimahullah ta'ala, wal fardu, the fard, the unique report, وهو قسمان, it has two divisions. Al-awwal al-mutlaq, the first is what is absolutely unique. So we just read a few minutes ago that this category, absolutely unique, is what they call fard, usually, when they use the noun fard. The absolutely unique. Al-mutlaqu min ghayri qayd. من غير قيد بقيد ما بأن ينفرد الراوي عن كل أحد من الثقات وغيرهم, which is by the narrator literally narrating this uniquely, different from everyone. He is the only one who narrates this amongst those who are trustworthy and amongst those who are not trustworthy. He's the only one who narrates it like this. ينفرد به. He uniquely narrates this narration. That's called فرد مطلق, absolutely unique. وحكمه الصحة إن بلغ الضبط التام. The judgment, meaning the level, the rank of this report, will be authentic if the narrator has perfect precision. That's the photographic memory we talked about. أو الحسن إن نقص ضبطه. Or it would be a fair hadith, Hasan, if he has a deficient precision, meaning he has precision, but it's not at maximum level. So instead of having a photographic memory, he checks his books for accuracy and then protects them so that he can reliably narrate from his books. أو الضعف إن كان بعيدا من الضبط والإتقان, or such a uniquely, an absolutely unique report would be weak if the reporter is far from accuracy and mastery. If it lacks any of the conditions of acceptability. ومن أمثلته حديث النهي عن بيع الولاء وهبته. Said same thing here. And among its examples is the hadith about selling allegiance or giving it as a gift. What's this footnote here? Muttafaqun alayhi. This hadith is narrated by Al-Bukhari and Muslim. It's authentic hadith. So He used the same example for the absolutely fard and for the unique, for the ghareeb, for the fard mutlaq and the ghareeb. Okay. Now, this is what I remembered. Maybe I'm talking like I didn't know what's the difference between fard and ghareeb. What I'm saying is what I remembered, alhamdulillah, that they are the same with some difference between them that we want to study and review now. But what made me hesitant is the author of the Baykuni poem separating these two in such a way. Yani Ghareeb is mentioned so many lines previously, and Fard is mentioned now so many lines later. So then, Yani, with my really just being a beginner and an amateur here, I was just hesitant about the difference between them. تفرد به عبد الله بن دينار عن ابن عمر. Abdullah ibn Dinar uniquely narrated this from Ibn Umar. ولم يذكر الناظم هذا القسم. And the author of the Baykuni poem did not mention this category of fard, al-fard al-mutlaq. Absolutely unique. والثاني الفرد المقيد بالنسبة إلى جهة خاصة. And the second is the unique report, relatively unique. Yani relative to some particular aspect, relative to something, not absolutely unique, unique relatively. So relatively means comparatively. When you compare it to something else, there is something like it, but this one is unique in its own way in comparison to something else. Not absolutely unique. And this is the one that they would call Ghareeb. وهو أقسام, and it has divisions. الأول هو ما قيدته بثقتي. The first one is what you would restrict it to or limit it to someone trustworthy. مثل أن يقال, like for it to be said, لم يروه أحد ثقة غير فلان. No one trustworthy narrated this but Fulan. So that doesn't mean no one else narrated it at all. That statement doesn't mean no one narrated it but Fulan. Rather, no one trustworthy narrated it but Fulan. So it is relatively unique, not absolutely unique. This is the one that they call Ghareeb. ومن أمثلته حديث مسلم وغيره. Amongst its examples is the hadith of Muslim and others. أن النبي صلى الله عليه وسلم كان يقرأ في الأضحى والفطر بقاف واقتربت الساعة. That the Prophet صلى الله عليه وسلم used to recite for the Eid prayer, Eid al-Adha and Eid al-Fitr, Surah Qaf and Surah Al-Qamar, which is what's meant by وَقُتَرَبَتِ السَّاعَةِ اقتربت الساعة وانشق القمر. He used to recite Surah Qaf and Surah Al-Qamar. تفرد به ضمرة بن سعيد. This was uniquely narrated by Damra ibn Sa'id عن عبيد الله ibn Abdullah, from the route of Ubaidullah, the son of Abdullah, عن Abi Waqid al-Laythi, from Abu Waqid al-Laythi. Quick note for you. Now we are saying names when we recite the chain. Do you know who these people in the chain are? No? Then, yani, me either. Then, yani, that's because we're amateurs here. We just want to learn. The hadith scholars, they memorize these chains, and the hafiz, the hadith headmasters, they memorize the biographies of the people in these chains. They know who are the people in the chains, and they have the chains memorized. And people like us are reading these chains, and the names are almost irrelevant to us because we don't know who they are. If we got higher in the science of hadith, then we'll become more familiar with the chains. لم يروه أحد من الثقات إلا ضمرة. None of the trustworthy people narrated this hadith except Damrah. Okay, so what did the author say in his poem? وَالْفَرْدُ مَا قَيَّدْتَهُ بِثِقَتِهِ. The unique report is what you have limited it to someone trustworthy. He means here relatively unique, but he didn't call it relatively unique, al-fardul muqayyad or al-fardun nisbi. He just called it fard in the poem. You know, there's fard mutlaq, absolutely unique, and fard nisbi, relatively unique. This one is relatively unique. No one narrated the hadith that we are talking about right now who's trustworthy but Damrah ibn Sa'id. والثاني المقيد بأهل بلد مخصوص. A second example or kind of relatively unique hadith is what is limited to the people of a particular town. The people of a particular town are narrating this hadith in a certain way, while the people of other towns don't narrate it that way. والثاني المقيد بأهل بلد مخصوص وإليه الإشارة بقوله. And that's what the author signaled to, the author of the poem, when he said, أو قيدته بجمع أي بلد كالبصرة والكوفة. He said, يعني والفرد ما قيدته بثقتي أو جمع أو قصر على روايتي. So he said, أو جمع, or what you have limited it to a jama'. The explainer, Sheikh Al-Jabarti, rahimahullah, he is saying what's meant by group here, jama', is a town like Al-Basra or Al-Kufa. ولو قال والفرد ما قيدته بثقتي أو مصر أو قصر على روايتي. He said, had the author of the Baykuni poem said, this what I just read to you, and what did Sheikh Al-Jabarti do? He switched the word jam'in here for the word Misr. Misr, which means a city or a metropolis. So everything else is the same. The author said it. He said, وَالْفَرْدُ مَا قَيَّدْتَهُ بِثِقَتِي أَوْ جَمْعٍ أَوْ قَصْرٍ عَلَى رِوَايَتِي. Sheikh Al-Jabarti is saying, had he said, وَالْفَرْدُ مَا قَيَّدْتَهُ بِثِقَتِي أَوْ مِصْرٍ أَوْ قَصْرٍ عَلَى رِوَايَتِي. The fard, the unique report, is what you have limited it to someone trustworthy, or to a city, or limited it to a narration. لَكَانَ أَحْسَنَ وَأَوْلَى. This would have been better and more appropriate. Yani, because you can see the difference between city and group. But this broadens your horizons more now about the hadiths. That tells you that uh, with the spread of the hadiths being narrated from the Prophet alayhi salatu wasalam, from his companions into different directions, going to different towns, that some versions of hadiths became special to certain towns and not other towns. ومن أمثلته ما رواه أبو داود عن أبي الوليد الطيالسي عن همام عن قتادة عن أبي نضرة. And amongst its examples is what Abu Dawood narrated from Abu al-Walid al-Tayalisi, from Hammam, from Qatada, from Abu Nadra. Who knows that chain? I don't know that chain. And even when I studied Mustalah, I don't remember a single time when we took a test that any sheikh who gave us Mustalah sought from us to reproduce the chains in the tests. Who narrated this? What's the chain for this and this and this? Give an example with its chain, for example. I don't remember ever that we had to memorize a chain. So we're not at that level here. But if you memorize this explanation, then you'll see. You'll memorize those chains. What's there, what's presented. So he says, and in the footnote it says, in the explanation of Az-Zurqani, it's mentioned from Abu Dawood al-Tayalisi. Here in this explanation of Sheikh al-Jabarti, he says, Abu Dawood narrated it from Abu al-Walid al-Tayalisi. The footnote says, maybe what's here is what's correct. Who did these footnotes? Sheikh Sami al-Qadi. Sheikh Sami is the one who published, who worked on this book here. And he's the one who gave me the ijaza also to read it. So, what's the hadith? قال أمرنا أن نقرأ بفاتحة الكتاب وما تيسر. We were commanded to recite from the opener of the book, the Fatiha of the book, and whatever is easy. We took when we went over An-Nukhbah, if you remember, Umirna, we were commanded to do such and such, is an indication that that's a prophetic hadith. That's one of the wordings from the companions for prophetic hadith. We were commanded to do such and such. قال الحاكم, Al-Hakim commented, تفرد بذكر الأمر فيه أهل البصرة. The mentioning of being commanded is unique to the people of the city of Al-Basra. وَلَمْ يُشْرِكْهُمْ غَيْرُهُمْ فِي هَذَا اللَّفْظ. And no one else shared with them in this wording of the hadith. والثالث المقيد بقصره على راو مخصوص. And the third kind or third example of a relatively unique report, which is what they would call Ghareeb, is for the narration to be limited to a particular narrator. وإليه الإشارة بقوله أو قيدته بقصر على أي اقتصار على روايتي. In the author's poem when he said, or what you limited it to a particular narration. كأن يقال, like for it to be said, لم يروه عن فلان إلا فلان. No one narrated this from Fulan except Fulan. وإن كان مرويا من وجوه عن غيره. This could be said even if the report were narrated in different ways from others. ومن أمثلته ما رواه أصحاب السنن الأربعة. And amongst its examples is what's narrated by the four authors of the Sunan. That's Abu Dawood, At-Tirmidhi, An-Nasa'i, and Ibn Majah. They are the four with a capital F. Min tariqi Sufyan ibn Uyayna. From the route of Sufyan ibn Uyayna. He's a mujtahid. He had his own madhab. He's one of the two Sufyans. Both of them are mujtahids. They're called As-Sufyanan, the two Sufyans. عن وائل ابن داود عن ابنه بكر ابن وائل. What Ibn Uyayna narrated from Wa'il ibn Dawood from his son Bakr ibn Wa'il عن الزهري عن Anas from الزهري the tabi'i from Anas the companion أن النبي صلى الله عليه وسلم أولم على صفية بسويق وتمر. That the Prophet صلى الله عليه وسلم did a walima, a banquet, a wedding banquet for marrying Safiya. And he served sawiq. Sawiq, I would translate that as mush. Like when I say mush, like, for example, oatmeal or cream of wheat, something like this, something creamy made from grains. Sawiq and dates. Mush and dates. Allah knows best. Maybe there's a better word than mush. لم يروه عن بكر غير وائل. No one narrated this from Bakr other than Wa'il. ولم يروه عن وائل غير سفيان بن عيينة. And no one narrated this from Wa'il other than Sufyan ibn Uyayna. والحديث صحيح. And the hadith is authentic. Wallahu a'lam, and Allah knows best. Alhamdulillah, Allah enabled us to complete our goal for today. So we completed reading about the Fard, and we reviewed with that the Ghareeb, and we saw the relationship between them. So, quick recap here. I'll write in English letters. Fard, Bismillah. Fard is two types: absolute and relative, yani in comparison to something else. Fard unique. So the absolute fard is what they would call fard. And the relatively fard is what they would call ghareeb. And that's in terms of using the nouns, when they use the nouns. As for the verbs that mean fard or ghareeb, like tafarrada and aghraba, they use them exactly the same, the verbs. The nouns, they separate them most of the time. And Ibn Hajar said, linguistically, they are synonyms. They mean the same. And even technically, they are synonyms. And the difference between them, fard and ghareeb, is in their frequent usage. Yeah, the scholars frequently using one of those words in a particular way and the other one in a particular way. Otherwise, they mean the same thing. Wallahu a'lam. Allah knows best. Do you have a question I can answer for you? Question: what is the meaning of what some of the scholars said? Don't be busy with the ghareebs. I think I answered that for you. Do you still need me to answer this?
Yes, Sayyidi. Actually, I wanted. Um, Assalamu alaikum.
Wa alaikum
Uh,
assalam wa rahmatullah.
I'd like you to elaborate more on this. I mean, why did they say so?
Yeah,
Yani, even though we got it, the most of the Ghareeb are weak hadith,
and they
but
come
why?
from the objectionable. They come from they have. He said they said most of them are manakir. They are objectionable munkar hadiths. That means there's
Uh,
something in there that's against the religion. And they come from the du'afa. They are narrated by the weak narrators. So that's the why.
I see. طيب, Shaykhi, before you got cut off, I was asking you about what the Tirmidhi mentioned when he said غريب من هذا الوجه. Uh,
Yes.
did he mention in his compilation literally غريب من هذا الوجه, which meant text is widespread but the chain of narration is unique? So he literally said غريب من هذا الوجه, like he would
Yeah, he has a
narrate the hadith.
mustalah. At-Tirmidhi has unique mustalah, unique terminologies. So he says sometimes when he comments on a hadith, غريب من هذا الوجه.
Oh, okay.
Just like he says Hasan Sahih.
Yeah, right. Yeah, we hear that often. What
Yeah.
what does he mean, by the way, by Hassan Sahih?
Imam Ibn Hajar said, what does he mean by Hasan Sahih? He said, the scholars spoke about this at length, offering explanations for it. He said, and I figured it out. Allah fataha alayya. Allah made me know. He
Mm.
said, what he means is it depends on if the hadith has more than one narration or not. He said, if it has more than one narration, then when he says Hasan Sahih, he means one narration is Hasan and one is Sahih. And when he says, but if the hadith has only one narration, then when he says Hasan Sahih, he means it's either Hasan or Sahih.
Ah, uh, I think the first is it has more than one narration. One is Hassan, one is Sahih. The second is it could be Hassan or Sahih. Am I right?
No, no. He's
Ah,
so there's Sahih, Hasan Sahih. Let me actually write in English.
yeah.
Hasan Sahih. I'll write it with a dash. So this is a type of hadith according to this is a terminology of At-Tirmidhi.
Mm-hmm.
So either he's saying this for something that has two narrations, or he's saying this for something that has one narration. If he's saying it for something that has two narrations, this means one of its narrations is Hasan and the other one is Sahih.
Mm.
So the meaning is Hasan and Sahih. And if he's saying it for something that has one narration, then it means it's Hasan or Sahih.
Okay.
So then
Mm.
means or, meaning they
Barakallah fi.
differed about it.
Yeah, I got you.
I mean, Wafiq. And then he
So
says, this
you mean
one
the
is better. This one is better because it has definitiveness, and then it's better than this one because this one has taraddud.
tentativeness? Mm.
Yeah, yeah,
Uh,
hesitation.
uh, so I want to say something, subhanAllah. Hassan or Sahih. Uh, so what he meant by Hassan or Sahih, that means the scholars of Hadith would say this is either Hassan or Sahih according to the uh, what did we mention before? According to the ضبط, to the of the rijal, of the men, of the narrators. Is that
Well,
what's
the
what's
grading
meant?
the hadith is based on the chain.
Yeah, and who is to decide this is Hassan or Sahih? Like
The
it's one
hafiz of
narration.
hadith will decide.
So they differed about this Hassan or Sahih in when it's one narration,
Yeah, well,
one
yeah, they differed.
infinite.
Is it Hasan or is it Sahih?
Okay. Oh, I got it. طيب, Sayyidi, I still have a couple of more questions
Sure, go ahead.
regarding Al-Jabarti's explanation. I didn't get what when he said Damr. I didn't completely get what he used when he said Damra ibn. So I forgot the name of the person. He narrated from the route of where was it? Yeah, here, Damra ibn Sa'id. Mhm.
Mm-hmm.
So now we mentioned that.
Wa alaikum assalam wa rahmatullah. Hold on, I'm answering a question. Yeah, go ahead, Habibie.
And now we mentioned that Ghareeb is the fard muqayyad, which is restricted to being like بثقة or Masr or Qasr, right? This is the Ghareeb, fard muqayyad.
The Ghareeb hadith is the Fard Muqayyad, yes.
Okay. Then we mentioned here that this hadith تفرد به and I mean in the example that he mentioned, I didn't quite get يعني how do I say it تفرد به ضمرة بن سعيد. In what sense did he تفرد
He says here لم يروه أحد من الثقات إلا ضمرة. No trustworthy person narrated it except for ضمرة. So that means doesn't mean no one else narrated it. Someone else narrated it, but he wasn't trustworthy. The only trustworthy one who narrated it is Damra, and so that's the uniqueness in being narrated by anyone trustworthy.
So we can say that any chain of narration for this particular hadith should pass through Damra if it's meant to be trustworthy narration. Yani if it's meant to be authentic.
Not necessarily, because even if a chain has yani is disputable or weak in itself, it's possible that it has corroborating reports. So that the weakness that they feared by that report on its own is patched by something else.
ما بعرف. I think it's not very clear to me.
Okay.
I think
so let me clarify more.
يعني سيدي من أي طريق نحن حكمنا عليه بأنه من أي وجه قلنا إن هذا الحديث هو غريب غريب صحيح, right? Is it غريب صحيح?
It's
because
Sahih.
Muslim...
It's narrated by Muslim.
Yeah, exactly.
And it's Ghareeb, not absolutely Ghareeb. I mean, it's Ghareeb, so it's not absolutely Fard. It's Fard Nisbi, relatively unique. Yani, relative to the yani, what's the uniqueness? The uniqueness is in the trustworthiness of Damra. Damra is the unique reporter here. What's unique about him? He's trustworthy concerning this hadith.
But what about the others? Ibn Sa'id, Ibn Ubaidullah, aren't these trustworthy as well?
I don't know.
I
don't know how to comment on the rest of the chain here. The rest of this chain.
This is why I got lost here. I didn't.
Yeah. So does this mean here all of these are not trustworthy, but except Damra, or does he mean there's numerous chains? None of those chains are reported by anyone trustworthy except the one that has Damra in it.
Exactly. This is what I thought he meant.
Yeah, that's what I thought he meant too.
Subhanallah.
We can ask inshallah for clarity.
Inshallah. Can we get to the last question now?
Yeah, go ahead.
it was the last hadith we mentioned, yeah, about the Tayalisi after what? Yes,
Yeah,
yeah, Sufyan, sorry.
yeah,
Here, I didn't, also, it wasn't so clear to me because what he commented, Sheikh Al Jabarti, rahimahullah, he said something uh, later on. Yeah, please. Here, exactly here. He said, لم يروه عن بكر غير وائل.
yes.
And
Okay.
لم يروه عن وائل غير سفيان بن عيينة. But Sufyan ibn Uyayna is narrating from the route of Ibn Dawood, right?
So let's see here. He says, amongst these examples is what the authors of the Sunan, the four authors of the Sunan narrated from the route of Sufyan ibn Uyayna. So who are the four? We know who are the four. At-Tirmidhi, Abu Dawood, and Nasa'i, and Ibn Majah. Those four, is there someone between them and Ibn Uyayna? I don't know. But
Okay, let's say there isn't.
okay. So if there isn't anyone between them and Ibn Uyayna, then means yani he's the beginning of this chain here.
Okay.
And then he's narrating it from Wa'il. This
Okay.
Wa'il, no one narrated it from Wa'il but Sufyan. And Wa'il.
Okay, great. I got this part. Great.
Okay.
What about Bakr?
So let me just read his statement again. He says, لم يروه عن بكر غير وائل ولم يروه عن وائل غير سفيان. So yeah, and then this Wa'il, no one narrated from him but his father Bekr. So what this means is, it's possible that several people narrated it from Az-Zuhri.
Oh, okay.
Could have other narrations from Az-Zuhri. Bekr took it from Az-Zuhri. But no one took it from Bekr but Wa'il. Or narrated it, rather. Let me not say took it, rather narrated it. No one narrated it, so it could be, I don't know. It could be that numerous people narrated it from Az-Zuhri. If you trace it back, it'll go back to Zuhri from different routes. But no one narrated it, and amongst them is Bekr. Bekr narrated it from Zuhri, but no one narrated it from Bekr but Wa'il. And no one narrated it from Wa'il but Sufyan. Who narrated it from Sufyan? I don't know. Did many people narrate it from Sufyan?
Okay, Sheikh, but there is Ibn Dawood between Wa'il and Bakr. This is what I meant. This is what I got lost. Yani, here
Wa'il is Ibn Dawood.
Sorry. It's because yeah. I got it now. Sorry.
Wa'il ibn Dawood, yeah.
Yeah. Sorry. I thought there was an here. That's why I got lost. وائل ibn Dawood عن ابنه بكر. Yeah.
Yeah, he narrated it from his son.
Yeah.
Usually the sons narrate from the fathers. In this case, this is a case of the father narrating from the son.
Yeah. Maybe also this is what got me more. Yeah, no problem. More confused. Anyhow. جزاك الله خيرا سيدي.
آمين وإياكم.
Because we don't have the matan too. Did you share the matan with us before this sharh?
I don't know, but I'll put it in the group, inshallah.
The group that
I'll put the PDF
the
in
one
the conference call group,
with
inshallah.
Declaration. Okay, yeah. أحبك الله سيدي.
آمين وإياكم.
زادكم الله علما. Bye.
آمين وإياكم. بارك الله فيكم.